And here we go. We have liftoff. Propulsion continues to be nominal.
R68 chamber pressure looks good.
Following up. Roger, roll, Atlantis.
Water towers fly! Yes!
Tango down to nominal.
Fighting outside SPD off. Bring in SPD off. Off. It's orange!
145! Oh my god! Oh my god!
Decollage. Look at that! Put that in the big bag, Eagle.
343 unfolds to go.
Indeed.
We rise together, back to the moon and beyond.
The methane would be igniting in the flare, correct?
Yikes. You dead? Sure. We don't need any more of these.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to another NSF live stream from right here on the Space Coast of Florida. You are currently taking a live look over at Space Launch Complex 40, where SpaceX's Falcon 9 rocket is poised to launch the Starlink 6-72 mission in just under 1 hour's time, assuming all goes well. My name is Max Evans, and I will be your host this evening. I'm a spaceflight photographer here at NSF. Glad to have you all with us tonight. Seeing a bunch of 5x5s in chat. Glad to know you guys can hear us. We are off to a good start this evening. But, of course, we cannot do this alone. And I am joined by the one and only Alex. How's it going, Alex? How are you?
I'm doing fantastic, even though it's a little bit late here in Europe. But hey, you know, it's every time it's always good to have another launch. So why not?
Yeah, we had a pretty good break after From 2, about 5 or 6 days. So we're not used to having that kind of gap in between launches. But hey, we are never gonna complain about some more time to breathe, especially with the cadence they have nowadays. But also out in the field for us, we have, after being away on assignment for almost a month, the one and only and very talented D Wise is also out with us. D is still getting some cameras ready for us, so not on comms just yet, but hopefully we will have D on very, very soon. But also in the back channel, pushing the buttons, pulling the levers, is Chris Atherton and also Kevin Michael Reed. We'll both be looking over the stream for everyone tonight, hoping all goes well and we have smooth transitions. What's that transition that everyone can't stand from Kevin? What is that? Is it the slide transition? Alex, you know?
I think it's like the fade one or something like that. I don't know. Yeah, there's a few. There's a few that are
There's a
that
few.
riles people up. Yeah, there's also the one that's the merge.
The merge.
There's
That's what
like
it was.
One that
Okay.
is like fading in or something like that. It's like the view disappears and fades into another view kind of thing. It's weird. The cube zoom. Oh yeah, there's a
yeah.
few. There's a few.
There's a few, but hopefully we will avoid all those tonight. Just as a reminder, everybody, be sure to tag us at NASA Spaceflight in chat. We will answer your questions as best as we can. Alex, with his big brain of knowledge, will surely be able to give us any information that we need tonight. So, to get us started, Alex, what do we have on the pad tonight? What is going to space?
Yeah, so we have a Starlink launch, as you can see there on the top left. You can see it says Starlink Group 6-72. Unlike most of the times where I always go like, oh, this is just, 28 Starlink satellites, whatever. I'm actually going to explain what the Group 6-72 is all about, because a lot of people always ask about that. So let's go with that. So this is Group 6, which means they're launching Starlink V2 mini satellites into a 43-degree inclination orbit, which means today's launch will be heading southeast. They could launch to the northeast, but the weather to the south is a little bit better for recovery and things like that. So they pick that, just for convenience sake. That means we're going to have drone ship landing. This booster is, of course, flight proven. It's going to be flying for a 19th time on this mission, and it's going to be landing downrange on Just Read the Instructions, northeast of the Bahamas. And so it's going to be, usual southeast Starlink launch, of course, and the 72 is just because that's the number of the mission. In reality, I believe this mission, in terms of like what's the number of Group 6 missions they've done so far, it's the 73rd because there's been a few that they have jumped over and everything. So this is sort of catching up to those numbers, I guess. But yeah, 28 Starlink V2 mini satellites, matching the record for most of these Starlink V2 mini satellites that they have launched on a Falcon 9 rocket. If you have been watching our recent live streams of these satellite, Starlink launches, we've talked about them optimizing the both the performance of these satellites, but also the mass of these satellites. They are more capable than before, and they are also lighter than before, so they can carry more of these at a time. Really nice. Applying the algorithm, as they call it there at SpaceX, right? Trying to get things more efficient and overall more effective, I guess. But that's pretty much the summary of this mission. Do you think I've forgotten anything, Max?
Did we talk about the booster, Alex? Did you mention which booster is flying tonight?
Yeah, that's true. I only said it's going to be flying for a 19th time. This is booster B1078. There we have a rundown of all of the missions. We put SL for Starlink and like the groups, because if we had to like write down Starlink 6-4 and everything for every single, it will just not fit there. It barely fits already there by using SL for Starlink, right? But yeah, Crew 6, O3BM Power B, Starlink 64, 68, 616, 631, USSF 124, 646, 653, 660, 102, 106, Bluebird 15, Starlink 1013, 676, 126, 129, and 1216. But yeah, that's pretty much where we are right now. 21 days of turnaround, which is very nice. It's kind of crazy that, that's actually sort of like middle of the road, sort of the average nowadays, 20, 25 days. We've seen as low as 9 days. Yeah.
I mean, for the Space Coast here, 21 days for a booster turnaround is actually pretty quick. Obviously,
Yeah.
with recent flights at Vandenberg, where the time of turnaround has gotten as low as 9 days for a booster in between flight, is remarkable. 21 days here on the Space Coast is quite the feat in of itself. So that's nothing to snuff at. But it is doing quite a bit of work tonight, as this ties for the most amount of Starlink V2 minis go into orbit, hopefully in about 52 minutes time. All right, I'm going to go through some quick support here while we can. Even before we went live, a couple of Michaels coming in. First being Michael Bertoldi becoming a Capcom member. Michael, thank you very much. We greatly appreciate that. Then also a Michael, forgive me if I mispronounce this, Rollea. Oh goodness, I hope that's correct. But Michael upgrading to Capcom, our Capcom membership. Michael, thank you very much. And just as a reminder, Capcom and above memberships gives you full access to NSF Discord, L2. You can chat with Jack, chat with Alex, chat with D, and to just talk about whatever, whenever you can, assuming we're awake, because we have a lot to do all the time, and sleep is not necessarily the easiest to come by. But D, do we have you on comms?
I sure hope so. How do you hear me?
We got your 5x5. Well, welcome back to Florida.
Thank you.
How are you, D? What's going on?
It is an absolutely gorgeous, clear night here. A light breeze, no clouds in the sky, a pretty bright moon, and a beautiful VAB. So, what's there to complain about?
Absolutely. And D, while we have you, since you mentioned how good the skies look tonight, would you mind going over the weather for the weather forecast for tonight's mission?
Let me look for that. I do not have that one on hand at the moment.
Well, it looks like we have it on screen now. So it looks like we have, well, really, as far as weather forecasts go, it looks like this is about as good as it can get. Looks like the 45th Weather Squadron, based over at Patrick Space Force Base, is forecasting less than 5% chance of a weather-induced violation throughout the launch window tonight, which lasts about 4 hours and goes till about 2:40 a.m., technically tomorrow morning here on the Space Coast. So really about the weather is about as good as it can get, and can confirm I'm over at the hut today. I'm over at the hut roof, also at the Kennedy Space Center, and can confirm there are lots of stars and a nice half moon above our heads tonight. So weather is looking marvelous, and hopefully we can see Falcon 9 off in not too long from now. All right, well, let's go over some questions here. Really quick. Bideford asking at NASA Spaceflight, Alex, I thought this was only the second launch in April. What were the other two?
Okay, so let me see. No, this is the third launch of April. I guess, okay, yeah, it's because I get it. I get it now. It's because Fram 2 happened in April in UTC time, but it did not in local time, right?
Yeah.
And so that's why I wrote third launch of the month. Let's let's.
I mean,
let's
technically,
pass that
it
up.
was April. It was April UTC, even though
Yeah.
it was April UTC, but even though it was still
Mhm.
the end of March here, Eastern time. So
Yeah. I normally count it in UTC for simplicity reasons. It's like you've
that's
got
fair.
launches from California, which are Pacific time. You have launches from Florida, which are Eastern time. And then there are even times where it's like one is Eastern Daylight and the other is like Pacific Standard and things like that. Like it hasn't happened yet, but who knows? Maybe at some point SpaceX might launch so often that they may be in daylight time in one coast while the other is still on standard daylight or whatever, right? Like who knows? And so it's very easy that way, and also Starbase as well. It's Central Time, so launches from there are also another different time zone. Whereas if you have everything in just UTC time, that kind of helps.
I guess a little bit, right? Just a little bit. All right, Harrison Patterson asking at NASA Spaceflight, how long after launch does the second stage land? So we already talked about how the first stage B1078 is going downrange to meet Just Read the instructions just north of the Bahamas tonight. But Alex, where does the second stage come down, and what does it exactly do after payload deploy?
Well, I guess it's kind of like okay, my pay's done. Bye. But yeah, the second stage is for Starlink missions. Often just deorbit when they work. When it works, they deorbit, right? That's their plan at least. There's been a few here and there that have failed, but hey, that's the rare ones. So yeah, after their mission is done, and sort of like the band leaves the stage and the lights turn off and everything, what happens to the theater? Well, what happens is that it just deorbits, for at least for Starlink missions. And in this case, for this mission, it's going to be over the Indian Ocean. Very similar to, sort of the area where Starship re-enters on these suborbital missions that they do, right? From Starbase, and then they go over to the Indian Ocean. And so it's a very similar place. For this mission, though, it's that, but other missions, depending, for example, on whether they go northeast or they go to a different inclination, then they deorbit differently. For example, if they launched from Vandenberg to, for example, the recent Group 11 missions that we have had from Vandenberg, those deorbit over the Pacific because that's where it's more convenient in their trajectory, right? There's always this sort of misconception that every single time something deorbits, it's like, oh, it's over the Nemo point, over the Pacific Ocean and things like that. It just deorbits wherever it's more, convenient. And in this case, for today's mission, that's the Indian Ocean.
Very good. So we just saw it on the screen there briefly, but Chris, let's go ahead and pull it up again. So we are currently at T-minus 45 minutes and 40 seconds. So Alex, would you mind walking us through the timeline we can expect before Falcon 9 goes into prop load?
Yeah, so we are about 10 minutes away, hopefully, from that start of propellant load, that launch auto sequence starting at T-minus 35 minutes. You can see there that right now we should be around the time of when they do the go no go poll sequence for that propellant load. It usually starts around T-minus 45 minutes. It lasts for about 5 to 7 minutes, and it's usually around the 38-minute mark that we hear the usual if we had the launch countdown audio, of course, we will hear the usual go for Propellant node. Unfortunately, we don't have that, right, for this mission. It's a standard Starlink mission, and so we don't have access to that. But we do have ways of figuring out whether they are go for for Propellant load or not. So one of them is if SpaceX publishes that on X, right? If they post about it, then of course we will know. But another one is if we wait a little bit after T-minus 35 minutes, since they load liquid oxygen on the first stage, that liquid oxygen tank will get frosty because it's very, very cold liquid, right? And so we're going to see that a few minutes afterwards. So around T-minus 32, T-minus 31 minutes, that's usually when we see that frost appearing if they are indeed going for propellant load. So we're hopefully going to get to that in just, I guess, 12 minutes from now.
Talking while muted. It had to happen at least once.
Yeah.
It had to happen at
Welcome
least
to
once.
hosting.
I guess so. Okay, so currently holding at T-minus 43 minutes, just under T-minus 44. Falcon 9, so as we just said, let's see, going through support here. Let's go through one more question here. I just had it. Oh god, where'd it go? Boiling launch coverage asking 28 Starlink V2 minis. I remember 24 normal Starlinks. So they've been running the V2 minis for a while, and they've been launching them for quite a long time. And that is actually what the entirety of the Starlink Group 6, I guess, shell has been launching. They have launched occasionally a mix of V2 minis in combination with direct-to-cell satellites, but those have not been a part of the Group 6 shell. Those have been later groups. But Alex, do you remember exactly when the Group 6 shell started launching? It was around a year ago, was it, or longer? It's been going for a while.
It's been longer. It feels like it was just last year, right? It was
Yeah.
actually in 2023 with
Oh god.
ironically with the Starlink 6-1 mission back in, let me see, February 27th, 2023. So it's already been more than 2 years since that happened. Quite bonkers. Time flies, and so do Falcon 9s, I guess.
I mean, in theory, we should be coming up on a wrap of the Starlink Group 6 shell, but we also were saying that, 5 or 6 months ago, because they're obviously at the missions, at the mission technically 72 mark, even though they haven't launched exactly 72 times. That's the naming nomenclature hasn't exactly been, I guess, in order, or really hasn't made the most sense to everyone, but that is just the way Starlink missions are organized, at least externally from what we can observe. Alrighty, holding at T-minus 42 minutes, y'all. Just as a reminder, we are out here because of you. We would not be able to be out here and support these late night missions without your support, whether it be in the store throughout buying any prints or merch or being a member of our YouTube channel and supporting us through there and also on Discord. So just as a reminder, also, if you have any questions, be able to please tag us at NASA Spaceflight in chat, and we will go over your questions and answer them as best as we can with as much knowledge as we can, I guess, spill out. Okay. Go through. Oh, we got a super chat here from the one and only Kevin Michael Reed. Max is hosting. Yay.
Yay!
Yay!
And from the field. That's even...
And from the field, yeah. Currently on top of the hut, right next to the vehicle assembly building here at the KSC press site. It is quite a special place to be. And even though technically I cannot see the pad from exactly where I am because the trees are in the way, the lights, there is a little bit of light coming from behind the trees where the pad is, but cannot actually see the pad itself. But once the rocket clears the pad, that should not be a problem anymore. But at least from what we can see, obviously with this camera view, D has a great view of Slick 40 from over here at the Kennedy Space Center press site.
You should see Max's setup, though, on a folding table with an external monitor and all this to be able to keep up with everything from right there on the roof.
We should have used another camera just to look at him. Gotta be honest.
I mean, I just wanted to make sure that we're doing it right, and I don't fall behind on support or behind what you guys are typing in the back channel or anything else. I want to make sure I'm being kept up to pace, I guess, and just start trying to stay organized. That's all. Let's see. Boiling launch coverage coming in again with a question. NASA spaceflight, when? Oh, this is not exactly Starlink related, but when is New Glenn launching again, and do you think it will land successfully? Oh boy. That is we can go around the horn on this one, considering we all went through the roller coaster of covering the first flight of New Glenn. But D, we will go ahead and start with you. Do you think it will land successfully on flight 2?
I'll go out on a limb. I'll just say yes because I really want it to be. You know, I'll just say yes.
Just say yes. Okay, fair enough. Alex, what about you?
I think they have a higher chance, right? Now that they have tried at least once, they have a lot of data. So, yeah, I feel positive about it. And they were asking when. Well, Blue is wanting to do it later this spring, so we'll see, no? Right?
They did,
see what
yeah. So
happens.
yeah,
Yeah.
Blue themselves did say they wanted to launch Flight 2 in middle or late springtime, which is coming up really quick as we are now in the first week of April. So that will be here before we know it. But of course, we will actually see if hardware actually gets out to the pad, and we'll see if they are able to commit to that. So fingers crossed we can see New Glenn fly sooner rather than later. But of course, it's not like watching Falcon 9 fly, where Falcon is flying literally every 2 to 4 days on average this year. It feels like. Let's see here, going through some more questions. Oh boy. Another question here from oh goodness. Forgive me if I mispronounce this. I am Javier? Okay. When Pad B Starship launch? Well, we can see that there's still a lot of work going on over where the new orbital launch mount will be for Pad B over the brand new flame trench. There's been a lot of work being conducted over there in the past couple of weeks, and they have been making a lot of good progress on it. But in the meantime, they will continue to fly the Block 1 boosters and the rest of the V2 ships from orbital launch, the original orbital launch mount, Pad A, as we call it otherwise. But Pad B, they say they want to fly. What is it? Summer, Alex? I think it was summer.
Yeah, well, at least this year in general, right? It's sort of been their target for a while, but yeah.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see if that actually comes out or not. Obviously, they still have a ton of work left to do, and they have to get the launch mount over there in the first place to mount. I don't know if I don't think we know if it's going to be a full-on fixed structure or if it's going to be a mobile unit per se, where they can mount a booster on top of it and roll it down Highway 4 on some SPMTs or self-propelled module transporters. Kind of like the crawler transporter does with SLS, like it did with the space shuttle and of course the Saturn V as well. Unsure if that's going to be the case, but they had to get the launch mount there in the first place in order to launch it all, of course, obviously. So they're hoping summer. We'll see if it actually lines up or not, but we will have to wait to see. They also want to launch from 39A this year, and the goal there was to barge in a few ships in boosters, but because obviously there aren't any facilities currently here over at Hangar X to manufacture boosters and ships of the V2 or V3 variety, which are going to be needed to fly off of the orbital launch mount design that is currently being staged over at the production site and what's also currently being built over at Hangar X. So hopefully sooner rather than later, but end of this year for KSC feels a little bit optimistic. In my opinion, but it's not out of the question completely because we know how fast SpaceX can run a lot of the time, and I guess as everything else, you will have to wait and see what happens.
In any case, I mean, it's still a very healthy thing to be like, okay, let's try and get it ready as soon as possible without rushing stuff, right? But having a sort of high goal but still probably achievable goal, right? That sort of drives the teams to get things completed. probably a lot sooner than if it was like, oh, we're never gonna get it done. It's gonna be 2030.
Right.
That sort of
Right.
attitude doesn't really help.
I mean,
Oh,
the
there we
end.
go.
There we go. And there is a live view over of Launch Complex 39A. But on the left is the fixed service structure, which services Falcon 9 and Falcon Heavy. Then on the right, you can see with the red flashing lights, you have the Starship facility, the Starship Tower, that is over just to the southeast, southeast of the fixed service structure, which will hopefully be hosting Starship vehicles in the not too distant future. They still have a lot of work left to do on those chopsticks, but that before we know it, I feel like that the whole system is going to be up and running, and we'll be talking about these pre-activity days as if they were happening yesterday. But the goal with Starship is to fly with a cadence greater than Falcon 9. And Falcon 9 nowadays, especially from Slick 40 and Pad A combined here in Florida alone, average a every 2 to 4 day launch cadence, which is absolutely remarkable, especially with where the company was even 3 to 5 years ago, where if they launched 10 to 15, 20 times a year, it was a massive accomplishment. And now obviously they're launching over 100 times a year. And all of us just kind of shrug our shoulders like, oh yeah, like that's just business as usual for them. But like tonight, these Starlink missions are where they are able to further refine and tune Falcon 9, especially in terms of the Merlin 1D performance, and that is where they have been able to extract more performance out of the first stage to perform a boost back burn, for example, on crew missions. Whereas for the first, I want to say it was was it 6 or 7 flights, Alex, that they did not perform a boost back burn for an RTLS for a Falcon 9 first stage. I think it was the first 7 crew launches. Is that correct, or was it the first 6?
I think so. I know the first one was Axiom 2. It was actually on a private mission. And
Yes.
then they tried it on Crew 7, which by the time that happened, I think it was like the 10th flight of Crew Dragon or something like that. Yeah.
Okay. And actually, so we were actually talking so much. Well, we are already at the T-minus 33 minute mark. And obviously at this point, we are past the poll from the launch director of the go no-go poll at whether or not they are going to proceed with fueling. And by this point, we should keep our eyes peeled for frost, because that obviously would be an indicator if whether or not they are in prop load or not. And if they are committed to the first T0 of this 4-hour launch window, which is currently holding at 11:07 p.m. Eastern Time. Is that some frost on the bottom of the LOX tank there, or is that just a light area of soot? Somebody help me out.
I think it's starting to appear there. I see even some condensation. It looks like there's white smokes and everything around it or something like that.
Maybe it's tough to tell over the shrubbery, and that's one of the downsides of being over at the press site for Slick 40 is we cannot see the very bottom of the launch pad. So, but we can at least see the bottom of the LOX tank, which is what we have visual of first when they are in prop load as a I think that's a white ring on the bottom there in between the brush. You guys see that?
Yeah, it's
all right.
It's growing. That frost is growing, indicating that indeed they are loading propellant on Falcon 9.
Excellent. Yay! So it looks like they are confirmed and now committed, assuming this is what we think it is. They are currently committed to an 11:07 p.m. Eastern Time at T0 tonight. Of course, they do have the full window, but once they begin prop load, they do not have the resources or the time to do a full recycle of the fueling and of the entire fueling infrastructure or the rocket itself. They essentially they cannot recycle it in that time in order to try again, assuming they come across an issue of any sort. So, assuming that is frost, we are looking good. Okay, question here from Owen at NASA Spaceflight. Alex, how do we know which Falcon 9 booster is, which one is that flying on a certain launch? Oh.
Yeah.
Well, go ahead, Alex.
It's precisely because SpaceX, thankfully, so far, it is still saying how many flights this booster has done, right? And so if we go back all the way to the first launch, we know then which, because of how many launches it has done, and they list the missions that it has done, and we've been tracking that booster every mission, then we just continue that, and keep track of that. Sort of like, I don't know, like how aircraft keep being tracked every flight and everything like that, and people photograph them and things like that, like, right? And just like aircraft, they have a serial number, sort of, stickers and everything on these boosters. It's very tiny though. It's not like aircraft, which is like this very big number near the tail section of the aircraft, right? Like that tail number thing. In the case of Falcon 9 boosters, unfortunately, there are very tiny numbers, sort of at the portion where the grid fins are located, a little bit under them, right?
Yep.
On the body of the booster. Max, you've captured some of those. It's quite hard to get those, right?
It really is. It's honestly it's easiest to try and get the booster number when the booster is coming back into port if it had just flown to a drone ship recovery, because of course it comes right through the mouth of Port Canaveral, which is where a majority of SpaceX's recovery operations fleet is based at for East Coast operations. And from either the pier over at Jetty Park or the restaurant at Rusty's, which is where both of our fleet cams are located. That's when it's easiest to get up close to a Falcon 9 first stage booster and try and pick out which number it is. Obviously, the more times it's flown, the darker and sootier a booster is, and the more difficult it can be to decipher which number it is. But it's becoming more and more of a rarity to see a cleaner booster nowadays, because the ones we're seeing fly now more often are averaging anywhere in the 15 to 22, 23 flight range mostly. Obviously, Falcon 9 boosters have flown more than that now. I think we're up to 27, which is insane in of itself. But of course, the darker and the more used a booster gets, the more difficult it can be to read either the Falcon 9 logo on the side or the number, which is very tiny below the grid fins. I think there's actually a second spot on the booster where that number is located, right on top of the landing legs. But the more a booster is flown, the more difficult it can be to read those. But yeah, Port Canaveral is definitely the easiest spot to try and I guess spot those numbers. We can also see them sometimes if we're setting up remotes at like Slick 40, for example, because that's actually the closest we can get to a Falcon 9 rocket on the pad. Because at 39A, none of the camera spots that we are given by either NASA or SpaceX, depending on the mission, are not necessarily close enough to the rocket to read those fine details. But at Slick 40, we are. But actually, with the recent plans released of a landing zone be coming out for both 39A and Slick 40, exactly where the landing zone is at Slick 40 is actually right where we put remote cameras at Slick 40 at the moment. So either we're going to have to redo the plan of where to put cameras there, or unfortunately, remote cameras there are going to go bye-bye. Hopefully, the latter is not the case. Hopefully, we can work with SpaceX comms and NASA people to get a new spot. But that's coming in the next few years once LZ1 and LZ2 are shut down completely.
And if you're in the West Coast, then good luck. Yeah, right. In that case, if there's a new booster being launched from the West Coast, your best chance is just going to Long Beach. That's when they return. That's, of course, if they have a drone ship landing. If it's a return to launch site landing, well, good luck, right? Again, same deal. But if it's a drone ship landing, then you can just go to Port of Long Beach and do that. And the reason why I'm saying this is because SpaceX is about to debut a new booster out of Vandenberg, so I'm sure some people from the West Coast will be observing that. I already have a few people in mind that could probably help us, know exactly which booster number it is.
Oh, do you? I wonder who they could be. All right, ticking down now. We are just currently at T-minus 26 minutes. Let's hit some support really quick. Valerie Gee, is it G or Gee? Forgive me, Valerie. Thank you very much for becoming a PadRat member. Greatly appreciated. Mark coming in with a store message. Keep rocking the best spaceflight coverage out there. The Starship Flight 7 investigation has been closed out, or were there any major conclusions? Alex and D, feel free to chime in here, but the Starship Flight 7 mishap investigation was recently closed, right?
Yeah. I don't know, D, do you have anything?
I was aware that it was closed. I honestly do not have the details on hand.
It was also when you were on your Norwegian adventure, right? So
You've been busy.
I've been slightly preoccupied.
Slightly preoccupied. Yeah, it's true. But actually,
yeah.
we went over this as well in the Flame Trench yesterday. Doss and EJ and Sawyer all had a very in-depth conversation about both this and also Starliner. Spoiler alert! But feel free to check out the Flame Trench from yesterday if you want to hear that discussion. But yes, the Flight 7 mishap investigation has been closed out, but obviously the Flight 8 mishap investigation has not, and that is what needs to be cleared, presumably in order for SpaceX to fly on Flight 9, because obviously losing the first two V2 Starships is obviously not good. But hopefully they can get back to the pad sooner rather than later. Bideford coming in and gifting 5 Red Team memberships. Bideford, thank you very much. If you were just gifted a Red Team membership and you are currently in chat, feel free to thank Bideford in chat. Tag Bideford. Bideford, thank you so much. We see you all the time, and we are immensely grateful for all of your support. So thank you very much. And since Synthetic 3319 coming in with a $5 super chat. Screw it, here's a Red Bull. Yeah, I've had quite a few of those over the last few weeks, especially around From. That was a very long day between From and also Starlink earlier in the afternoon, and then camera set up in the morning before that. Yeah, that was a very long day. So never gonna say no to Red Bulls around here.
More of a coffee person.
Honestly, I don't know what it is. I cannot drink coffee. Like I'm one of those guys that just cannot stand the taste, no matter how much cream and sugar you put into it. I can't do it. I can't do it. I don't know what it is. Red Bull's a
Like
good
a
substitute.
salty caramel coffee.
That sounds more like a milkshake or like a I don't know. That's that sounds nothing like coffee. Am I crazy? Chat, am I crazy? That sounds nothing like coffee. D, nothing.
You said no matter how much cream or sugar, like that's the direction to go. You can get the salted caramel type drinks.
I like the police combo, which is coffee and donuts.
the police combo is I've never actually heard it called that, to be honest with you. Obviously
Because of the stereotype. Sorry.
the association has obviously always been there, but like calling it a police combo that's a new one. Yeah, I don't know what it is. Like no, by the time just strictly from my taste buds, obviously this is incredibly irrelevant, but just from my taste buds alone, by the time you put enough cream and or sugar into coffee to make it taste tolerable, at that point it's not even coffee, it's a freaking milkshake.
Well, Not in chat said that technically coffee is just coffee flavored water.
No, I'll go one step farther. It's just dirty bean water. That's all it is. That's all coffee is.
I thought
That's all it is.
that was in the UK.
Dirty bean water? Tea?
Never mind.
Are you trying
it's because they
to
have
trigger
beans on
Jay or
toast.
Chris Bergen here?
It's also very early. It's like 3:45 a.m. there, so
It is. For
Why not?
once, yeah, for once it's actually 3 a.m. there and not here for a Starlink mission. But welcome to our world. Because that happens that happens pretty often here, given the launch cadence. Before we hit the next upcoming event in our timeline, really quickly, Patricia
1
Grace
minute.
coming in. 1 minute. Patricia Grace coming in with a $5 super chat here with a smiley face. Patricia, thank you very much. We are glad to see you hanging out with us tonight, and we greatly appreciate your support. So, D, exactly what we are coming up on what we call the best event coming up at around 20 minutes and 20 seconds. Would you mind walking us through exactly what that is?
Absolutely. So prior to being able to load liquid oxygen into the second stage, what SpaceX is going to do is cool down all of the pipes and infrastructure that actually load it. So if you just have suddenly are flowing that liquid oxygen, that would create a thermal shock where like the pipes haven't gotten to that temperature. And so this is sort of preparing to load the liquid oxygen into the second stage. And so at the T-minus 20-minute mark we're coming up on, we'll see a large event of condensation that will continue for several minutes. And then at about 16 minutes, they'll actually begin the liquid oxygen loading into the second stage, and that's when that large vent will stop.
There she blows, right on cue.
Speaking of blows, like
Uh,
that's literally what you can see there, the wind blowing.
Yes, the T-minus 20-minute event is a great indicator for what the winds are doing, and also what the temperature here and humidity, more critically, here on the Florida Space Coast is like. And currently tonight, I don't have a thermometer on me. Let me check my phone really quick, actually. Give me 1 second. Okay, it is currently 75 degrees here at the Kennedy Space Center, and what is the humidity at? Humidity is at 79%, so that's actually pretty dry here.
That's dry, yeah.
That's actually pretty dry by Florida standards. And
Keep
as you,
hydrated.
yeah, exactly. I mean, I have water. There's water right here, so we should be good to go for the rest of the count. Now, as you can see, the vent is blowing slightly to the north of the rocket, which is obviously where the wind is coming from, or going, I should say. Good golly. We are obviously now into that T-minus 20-minute event. And for those of you who are just joining us, welcome to another NSF live stream from the Space Coast of Florida. You are taking a live look over at Space Launch Complex 40 at the Cape Canaveral Space Force Station, where SpaceX is attempting to launch the Starlink 6-72 mission in just under 19 minutes time, right here on the Space Coast of Florida once again. All right. Some support really quick. David Miller becoming a Red Team member. David Miller, thank you so much. We greatly appreciate your support. Picking out there's actually a really good question here. Alex, this is for you. Are there plans, Rook.mp4, that's a banging name, by the way. That's a great name. At NASA Spaceflight, are there plans for the second stage to be recoverable? I presume that this is towards Falcon 9. At one point, there was, right, Alex?
Yeah, very early on, they sort of toyed with the idea of having a fully reusable Falcon 9. It was dropped, then it was revived, sort of in the 2017, 2018 era, and then Starship happened, right? I feel like that was in a moment in the Starship development when it was actually not known as Starship, it was known as BFR, Big Falcon Rocket, right? and they were sort of struggling, it seems like, with a carbon fiber and whatnot. But then they switched to steel, and they were like, haha, this is the one that's going to be able to, get us there quicker. And so that's when they dropped Falcon 9 second stage reusability. Mostly, of course, as well, because of the fact that you have a lot of performance penalty. Think about, every single kilogram or pound or whatever unit of mass that you want to use, right? Every single one of those that you add to that second stage is going to add to the mass of the second stage, right? Which means that's payload that you cannot get into orbit, because the second stage also goes into orbit. So whatever you get on that second stage added to it will be, removed from your payload performance. And so things like heat shields, leaving leftover propellant for landing burns and things like that. Like all of that will just essentially, lower your performance. And so if you take a rocket like Falcon 9 with its size and everything, and you sort of do a back of the envelope kind of math on what will be its performance if it were fully reusable, it's probably less like maybe 5 tons to low Earth orbit, less than that, and not even like 1 ton to GTO and things like that, which it will be a lot, it will mean a lot more launches, and even some GTO missions will not be capable of being done, right? And for Falcon Heavy, certain missions, for example, will not be able to recover the second stage because it will be very energetic. It will be like escape missions or going to the moon or something like that. So you will not be able to do that as easily, or just not do it at all with the size of the rocket. That's why you gotta go bigger with Starship, right? That's bigger rocket, more performance, and that's how you get, more than 100 tons fully usable with that sort of architecture. But yeah, that's pretty much where we are right now with second stage reusability at SpaceX, I guess, if you want to call it like that.
Yeah, upper stage reusability is being saved for the Starship program. There's quite an energy differential in terms of how much propellant and how much speed is involved with bringing a Falcon 9 first stage down, or even a Starship first stage first stage down, being the super heavy booster, and bringing back an upper stage, which is traveling at orbital velocity. That's quite the differential there, and there's a lot of work needed to bring the upper stage back, whether it be with a heat shield like Starship has, or just some kind of ablative shield on the bottom or top of an upper stage to bring it home under either a parachute or for a bouncy house. Actually, at one point was actually considered by Elon for Falcon 9's upper stage at one point. But it's a much different problem to solve bringing back an upper stage compared to a first stage of a rocket. Okay. Oh, actually, a really good question here from forgive me. I am Jervier. There's that name again. I can't pronounce it correctly. If the rate of launches is the same, how many SpaceX launches do you think this year? Well, last year they launched just over 130 times, and I believe they are on pace for 150 something this year currently. Alex?
Yep. Yeah, so far, if they keep the same launch cadence that they've been doing so far, it will be around 150 or so. It wouldn't, like, that assumes, of course, that they are not going to be pushing a little bit more. Like, even if they do just squeeze one more launch every month or something like that, that's at least another 10 more launches or something like that, because we are in April, right? So that will be what? 8 more launches, I guess, if they squeeze one more per month or something like that. Like, if you squeeze a little bit more compared to how it is right now, you still get a great deal of launches there on top of the predicted right now of 150. Again, because that's a sort of linear projection, if you will, that I have running on my own spreadsheet. but yeah, it could really be like 160, 170. That's their goal, 170. So we'll see.
And we know that they can turn around like 40 in under 3 days. So if they were able to do that, assuming there wasn't sufficient damage or repairs needed for any like major downtime over it's like 40, they can turn around that pad in under 3 days. And we know that they can turn around Falcon 9 first stages in under 10 days now. Granted that hasn't yet happened on the Space Coast, but assuming they were able to transfer that workload here on the Space Coast, if they're able to turn around boosters in under 9 days and turn around the pad, it's at least like 40 in under 3. They could launch a lot, like over 160, 170 times. All right, really quick, some more support. Oh gosh, Marcel Vander, I think that's pronounced Pale. Forgive me if I'm wrong, but Marcel coming in with a €5 super chat. Get more cop specials, coffee and glazed donut. Yeah, that is a great combo. Marcel, thank you very much. Ethereal Swordsman, a name that we see very often in chat, coming in with a $5 super chat saying, "Hi, how would the team ever be open to doing like a gaming stream, seeing the team play like Mario Kart, or I assume Mario Kart Party or other stuff like that? It could be really funny." I know that at least in L2 in our L2 Discord there's a gaming thread, is there not?
Yeah, there's a gaming channel, and I see every now and then a lot of members there on voice chat, gaming and everything. I wish I could join more often. I'm always super busy. I used to join more often there to also play games and whatnot back in the day when things were not as busy as they are right now. But yeah.
Do you game often? I'm genuinely curious.
Oh, with all of my free time. No. There are many games that I've put a like single digit number of hours into. I really don't play many games. I could be editing or shooting or,
You sounded so sad. You sounded so sad saying that. Come on.
I'm actually really not. Like I'm would much rather most of the time be doing other things. But I must say I do like the idea of, while I don't think it would be necessarily like the Mario Kart type games. I'm sure that there are perhaps more on theme space related games that we'd be into, whether that would be a members type stream or something like that. Definitely not something for the main channel. I would say.
That sounds about right. Yeah, I can't really imagine a ton of people would like to watch us play Mario Kart. It'd probably just be a very small group of people, like our members. We love our members. Tap and above gets you Discord access. Speaking of the gaming thread in Discord. Shank Thomas coming in with a $9.99 super chat. Coffee is terrible for Merritt Island. Tea all the way. I heard they are looking for a guy to look at landings in the Bahamas. Have you heard anything on that? I've spent a quarter of my life there. Well, I used to live in Merritt Island, fun fact, and I don't know why I'm getting defensive. I never drank the coffee, so I don't know if it's terrible or not. Tea all the way, I guess. But we are always looking for camera options in the Bahamas for whenever they do opt to send a Falcon 9 first stage and a drone ship there for whenever they opt to launch farther south than they already do for launches like this. Because for Starlinks, like the Group 6 shell, they launch on a 43-degree southeast inclination. And for some groups, they launch on a 53-degree inclination farther south, which puts the first stage in the Bahamas itself. So if you have any ideas, hit us up. Feel free to email DOS, John Galloway, at NASA Spaceflight, and we will see what we can do. All right, Chris, are you ready for the store plug? Because it is about that time to talk about other ways that people can support us. Waiting for the store to come up. Any second now. There it is. So the easiest way to support us here at NSF, the only reason we are able to keep rolling out, especially for these late night missions, is because of y'all who end up coming back to support us either on the live stream or buying merch from our store. Right now, our Flight 8 patches, for example, are almost gone. They are, I think, within either the teens or single digits left. Like they are almost gone, and once they're gone, they're gone. People have asked before about bringing back previous mission patches, and unfortunately, we do not. That's not how our production works. Once they're gone, they're gone. But also, we have a new shirt out that is called "Have You Hugged a Booster Yet Today?" Currently available in navy blue and white on black, and navy blue with white. This one is currently obviously a white with black text. It's a really fun design. We have a lot of fun. Lindsay is one of our new store people. She's been doing a great job getting these designs up for everyone to enjoy. And personally, we just think that they're really cool. So, store purchases like this are among the easiest ways to support us. But all support does not have to be do with money. Just your viewership and just hitting the like button for us, guys, is enough for us. We are just grateful you guys keep showing up for us. All right, currently holding at not holding at. We are continuing. It's T-minus 7 minutes and 20 seconds. Yeah, we are getting really close now. A little bit of camera shake there because it is a little bit breezy here, as you probably saw from the direction of the vent, from the big vent at T-minus 20 minutes. Wind actually appears to have been picking up in the last few minutes, which is unfortunate, but currently it is posing no factor in terms of getting in the way for launch. Assuming it did, obviously, SpaceX obviously has gone well into prop load for Falcon 9, which means they are committed to launching at the opening of the window, or just past the opening of the window tonight at 11:07 p.m. Eastern time. So if they have to abort beyond today, they are done for the night. Although they do have a backup window tomorrow, so hopefully they won't need that. Hopefully we can get Falcon 9 off the ground in just a few minutes' time. D, we are getting very close to launch. Do we have to let you go?
Yes, actually, we're a little bit closer than I realized. So I will head to my cameras, and I will see you on the other side of this.
Godspeed, D. Thank you very much. Yeah, it's crazy how the last 10 minutes of the count just always just flies by. Even though we're only at T-minus 6 minutes, feels like we were just at T-minus 20 minutes 2 minutes ago. That's how the amount of perceived time that passes within the last hour of a count, it's exponential. It passes exponentially quicker the closer you get to T0. It's kind of a mind-boggling thing. I would love to know if there's some kind of psychology behind that. I don't know. Maybe that's just us, and maybe we're crazy. But we are already at T-minus 5.5 minutes. Alex, what is happening with Falcon 9 now? We should be getting close to engine chill, correct?
Yeah, it should actually be already running. It's usually around the T-minus 7 minute point in the count. Uh, Also, another thing that should have happened by now is, for example, the load of kerosene on the first stage. So we will have already both stages full of kerosene. They're still loading liquid oxygen. You can see there all of those vapors, that condensation and frost on both stages of Falcon 9. There's still a couple more minutes on the first stage and another more minute after that for the second stage. In the meantime, both the Falcon 9 and also the ground systems will be preparing for the stromback retract. The top clamp at the top of the stromback will open, and the stromback will retract about 1.8 degrees away from the rocket. And hopefully, we're gonna get also, for example, at T-minus 1 minute, the startup sequence beginning, which will be when the ground computers hand over control of the countdown to the onboard computers on Falcon 9. That's also when Falcon 9 computers check a lot of the systems on board of the rocket, right? Like engine health, things like guidance systems and everything. All of that gets checked. They also raise the tank pressure up to flight pressures. Lots of things. Very active. Last few minutes of the count here as we tick down. Just 4 minutes and 9 seconds to go.
And at about T-minus 2.5 minutes, we should begin to see that transporter erector begin to fall back a few degrees away from Falcon 9 in preparation to fall away completely at T0 once Falcon 9 has begun motion upwards. This is different from the transporter erector over at Vandenberg, which opts to lean back all the way before T0, and so there is no motion at liftoff. Over at LC39A, that transporter erector is very similar in that the motion it falls back a few degrees at T-minus 2.5 minutes. But that transporter erector is built to service Falcon Heavy as well, so it is pretty beefed up by comparison to Slick 40s, which almost seems skeletal by design. But both TEs can now support Dragon operations since SpaceX and NASA have certified the brand new crew access tower over at Slick 40, which you can see on your screen. It is that black structure to the right of Falcon 9. It feels like yesterday that tower wasn't there, and we had an unobstructed view of that transporter erector, but it's already been a significant amount of time since that tower has been completed. But they have only flown one crew from there so far, and that was the launch of Crew 9 just last summer. Hopefully, we will see some more crews fly from there soon, because it is a wicked pad to see crew fly from. Also, a very weird one as well. Man, Falcon 9 is looking awfully venty, isn't it?
Yep, getting ready for launch. Just heard stage 1 looks load is complete, so booster is done with propellant load. Second stage should be wrapping up in just 30 seconds from now. And we'll see that return of the Stromback vent. Remember at T-minus 20 minutes that we saw that? We're going to see the same again as they prepare, those pushbacks, as they call it, draining back some of that liquid oxygen on the lines and everything, making sure that none of it remains when Falcon 9 lifts off at T0.
And it is very humid out, as you can tell from the amount of vapor coming off of the tank structure of Falcon 9, both on the first and second stages. Just under 2 minutes now. At T-minus 1 minute, assuming all goes well, Falcon 9 will transfer to internal power and will be in startup. There should be a SpaceX call out for that. We are getting close here, folks. T-minus 1 minute and 37 seconds. And just there's the vent. And just as a reminder, folks, Falcon 9 is flying southeast tonight on a 43-degree inclination. So if you are south of the launch pad, either at Jetty Park, Cocoa Beach, Satellite Beach, anywhere down the east coast of Florida, south of Cape Canaveral, assuming the skies are clear, you should have a great view of tonight's launch. Approaching T-minus 1 minute and 10 seconds. We are getting really close here, folks. T-minus 1 minute. Falcon 9 should be on internal power and in startup.
It is in startup.
As we get closer to launch, folks, just after liftoff, both Alex and I will go quiet and let you guys enjoy the audio of 9 singing Merlin 1D engines as Falcon 9 climbs upwards. You may hear a bit of that coming through my mic a bit later a bit later in flight as I come back to y'all, but we are in the field tonight, both D and I, which is a new thing that we are trying out. So hopefully this works out well. Just under T-minus 30 seconds now. T-minus 20. It's different from this perspective, Alex. It's weird not having to look at a camera.
You're gonna see it first with your eyes, probably. So
Under 10 seconds now, folks. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We have ignition and liftoff. Go Falcon, go Starlink. Stay tuned for the audio. It is incoming. Plus 1 minute and 5 seconds, folks. Not sure if you can hear the rumble through my mic. Falcon 9 is climbing upwards. Should be supersonic at this point and approaching max Q. It is such a pretty sight. Alex, I'm so glad that you got to see this with your own eyes last year. It is so pretty.
But I lost it around this time on the flight because there were clouds. How is it looking like for you?
It's looking spectacular. Not a cloud in the sky tonight, and Falcon 9's exhaust is vibrant against the black sky.
Nice. I can also see really great views here that we are showing.
D-wise with a good track, and this looks like this is from Gauge.
Yeah.
From one of our cave cameras.
You can notice because it sort of shows the rocket sideways.
Yes.
Because of the location of the camera.
And there is a bit of latency between what I'm seeing with my eyeballs and what I'm seeing on screen here. So I will try my best to call out Miko when I see it on screen and not when I see it with my own eyes. But look at the vibrance of that plume already.
I'm gonna lie, I'm curious, what's the delay with your eyes to our camera, though?
It's about a second. And there we have Miko.
I'm gonna see the onboard views from SpaceX.
It appears from my eyes are telling me we have, here we go, a good second engine start from that MVAC. We should see it on SpaceX's stream momentarily. Stage set.
And
solid ignition.
Yep.
Looking
and the red
good.
that we were seeing before, that's just the camera colors,
Yes.
So, because it's different cameras. So I was saying one was from another different location, the other one was from D. So different cameras have different color balances,
Yes. And we are also at differing distances from the launch pad as well. So that's why our view differs as much as it does.
And there were the fairings flying away.
What I love, one of my favorite parts about watching Falcon 9 fly at night, especially after stage separation, is just watching the MVAC nozzle glow. Obviously, it's not regen cooled like the 9 sea level Merlin engines. The nozzle extension of the MVAC is radiatively cooled and is made of a material called niobium. And radiative cooling essentially means that the heat. Ooh. So
Is that from D?
That looks like it's from D. There's always a bit of afterglow, at least at this part. At least what are words? During this portion of flight from the upper stage, there is always a little bit of afterglow from the exhaust particulates itself in the atmosphere, and that is what D's camera was just showing you there. MVAC nozzle glowing away. Look at that.
Someone's asking where do the fairings go afterwards. they actually splashed down, right? They were for a while. They were trying to catch them out of the air with nets and everything. They put parachutes on them and also even cold gas thrusters so they can maneuver while in space until they go through reentry, and then they sort of glide down through the atmosphere, right? They pop out the parachute, and now they just splash them down on the ocean and recover them. So that'll be Bob, the recovery vessel for those today.
Saying they glide feels a little bit kind because they do come they do come into the atmosphere pretty quick, and there is some plasma
Yeah.
buildup on their entry. But yeah, they do have their own parachute system and their own maneuvering thrusters, and that is how they're able to orient themselves for a safe splashdown in the ocean for recovery. Views from the interstage of Falcon 9's first stage there on the left. There's that pusher system you can see, and that's what pushes on literally pushes on the throat of the MVAC for stage separation.
Mhm.
That is just glorious.
Helps them. That was added on the on this version of the 1.2 version of Falcon 9 precisely because they got an even bigger nozzle extension for this MVAC engine. And
They
so
do.
they added the extra pusher on the middle because they also have 3 on the perimeter of the interstage.
Yep.
And but the extra push kind of helps with a longer nozzle to keep it centered. Don't want to repeat a Falcon 1, I think flight 2 where the nozzle got dinged a little bit
Yes.
and then it started wobbling.
You don't want any residual thrust from your first stage while you are in the middle of stage separation and causing the stages to recollide. That is suboptimal, I guess one could say. Here we go. This is now the entry burn. This is where Falcon 9 is slowing itself down by firing 3 of its MVAC engine of its sea-level Merlin engines, to shed velocity to ease its entry into the upper atmosphere. Currently at 3 engines, we'll see a distinct shape change in the plume. Once they go to 1 engine, and shut down.
Now look for the grid fins and the plasma building up.
It's one of the best parts about.
As-
There it is. There's some plasma right there on the
Yeah.
grid fins. Golly. Plasma building up on all 4 titanium grid fins as Falcon 9 re-enters Earth's atmosphere, and those grid fins are now going to start orienting the booster before it ignites the center Merlin engine of its 9 for the landing burn to land on just read the instructions.
Look at the speed going down. Well, now it's stuck because they lost a bit of telemetry there.
That happens
normal.
sometimes in entry. Yep.
Yeah, it's going through the entry, so
Gorgeous.
I think you can see the light already of the drone ship.
Is that what that is?
I think it is.
Is that the drone ship?
It's so clear night that I think that must be right. Like, what other light could that be?
It could be. I mean, we'll find out hopefully in a few
Ooh.
seconds as we are rapidly approaching.
There's
the
another one
ignition
to
of
the
landing
right.
burn. Yeah, look at that. What is that?
Ship.
Oh, that is so cool. You know what? That might be. Here we go. Ignition of landing burn. Grid fins working away.
There's the deluge system on just read the instructions. And
Landing leg deploy. Bullseye.
that looks smooth.
That looked like a very smooth landing of booster B1078 on the drone ship. Just read the instructions. Next step in the process is waiting for the second engine or the MVAC of Falcon 9's upper stage to shut down for a nominal orbital insertion, hopefully in just a few seconds. Wow.
And there's the shutdown.
Looks to be on target. There we go. Fantastic. Well, folks, that is just business as usual for SpaceX. The booster looked to be a little bit off to the right. Wasn't quite a bullseye, even though I call bullseye. It wasn't it's still landed on the drone ship, so it looks to be like they're going to have hopefully a smooth recovery in the next few hours to get that booster secured to the deck of Just Read the Instructions with the Octograbber. This view is currently from D, and you can currently see the crew access tower in the middle of your frame there, and the transporter erector on the right, in the position that it falls to just after Falcon 9 begins upward motion. And currently, D is working on some slow-mo replays, and we will hopefully play those back for you in just a few minutes. In the meantime, I'm going to go through some support really quickly because I'm a little bit behind. Ken Rathbone becoming a Red Team member. Ken, thank you very much. S.E. Robinson Jr. with gifting 1 Red Team membership. Thank you very much. We greatly appreciate that. Apocalypse Cow, another name that we see very often coming into our chat, and also being generous enough to gift 5 more Red Team memberships to 5 random folks who are in our chat and not already channel members. Apocalypse Cow, we love seeing you around. Thank you so much. DJ Machowski, or just DJ for short, becoming a Pad Rat member. DJ, thank you very much. And Marcel coming back with another €5 super chat. We saw this name earlier. More coffee. Oh goodness, I don't drink coffee. But I'm sure D and others on the team would be greatly appreciative of coffee. I'll take Red Bull. And lastly, Shank Thomas coming in with a $4.99 super chat. I will let you know if we can see it from Fort Lauderdale. Yes, please do. Either tag me or NSF on X or Instagram, wherever. If you can see it, please post pictures or videos. We would love to see it. We love it whenever viewers send stuff in, especially if they're down the coast of Florida with other views. All right. So, Alex, obviously, we are now past the shutdown of MVAC on Falcon 9's upper stage. We look to have a nominal orbital insertion with a nominal burn time. What's next? Is there a second burn coming up for the upper stage? Like, what's coming up next?
Yeah, they're going to have another burn, very short, brief burn, a 1 second burn of that MVAC engine, approximately T plus 54 minutes. And so that's 43 minutes or so, 42 minutes from now, right? And that's going to circularize the orbit. Right now, it's sort of in a 130 something, right? Kilometers to 280 something, right? And then they bring that lowest point in the orbit up to that 280 something altitude over the Earth to be able to, safely deploy those Starlink satellites. If that synchronization burn doesn't work, then those satellites will be coming back really soon because that's a very low orbit. And so they need that second burn to be able to get to that. After that, about 10 minutes later, they're going to be deploying the satellites, and then they're going to be doing a deorbit burn roughly 30 minutes afterwards of that second stage coming down around T plus 2 hours over the Indian Ocean. So that's pretty much what's next for the Falcon 9. Hopefully we'll get to have all of that. Unfortunately, there's no coverage of it. We have not had any sort of cameras so far on any Falcon 9s of our own, at the very least, right?
Yeah.
Just give us time. Maybe Das can cook up something. Right? But
we have so much faith in Das. Like, it is remarkable what he is capable of. Like, he does so much for us. So if Das is cooking up something spectacular, we will hopefully be able to bring that to you all. So earlier, when we were talking about the store, we mentioned Lindsay, who was one of our new store people. She just mentioned to us that she is watching tonight with her parents, and that is just the sweetest thing. Lindsay, thank you very much for watching tonight with your parents. It is lovely to hear. That is so sweet, and thank you very much, Lindsay. We are greatly appreciative of all the work you have done so far. She has been instrumental to our store operations, and she has just been wonderful. So, Lindsay, thank you very much. All right. Oh boy, lots of questions have just come in. I'm going to try to pick a few out here while we are currently waiting for replays, both from D and also from all of our other cameras stationed either here at the Kennedy Space Center or elsewhere around the Cape, whether it be Fleet Cam and also our Cape cams just by Jetty Park. Ooh, actually, GT Eddie Hottie. However, forgive me, GT Hottie coming in with 5 gifted Red Team memberships. GT, thank you very much. We greatly appreciate that. And 98 Central coming in with a $5 tip. Excellent live stream tonight. Thank you for the coverage. Hey, we are always happy to be out here covering whatever we can. And even though Falcon 9 is flying ever so often now, I think I can also speak for D on this. It really doesn't get old, especially being here in person. It is such a treat, and one of the only reasons that we can come back here as often as we do and keep streaming for y'all is because of the gracious support from everyone, whether it be something as simple as liking or subscribing to our stream through
Ooh.
super chats. Oh,
Hi, Max.
hello, that's me. I had no heads up this was coming, so this is kind of awkward. Oh goodness. Yes, that was me. Hello. But yeah, we are only here because of the gracious support that is from everyone who is watching and everyone who's been supporting through our store and on the live streams themselves. So, from the bottom of our hearts, everyone, thank you very much for watching and coming to hang out with us. And we will hopefully get you those replays in just a few minutes. Oh, here's a good question from Ethereal Swordsman, nonetheless. At NASA spaceflight, if they only land on one engine, how do they have roll control, especially once slowed down too much for the grid fins? That's a really good question. So, well, obviously, once they get to a speed where obviously moving the grid fins doesn't provide that much or control at all, based either on X, Y, or Z axes. The center engine, the center Merlin of Falcon 9 has the ability to gimbal. I can't remember. Is it 5 or 6 degrees? Alex, do you remember?
I think it's 5. Yeah, for Merlin, it's 5.
Yeah. So the center Merlin of Falcon 9's of Falcon 9's first stages 9 has the ability to gimbal about 5 degrees in any direction, and that is what provides a majority of its oriental control, whether it be left, right, up, down. In before coming into either the drone ship or LZ1 and or LZ2 here on the Cape. So
One
they
thing,
go ahead.
one thing that they also do as well is, I don't know if you've noticed, but they always coming with the same roll attitude. Like, once the landing burn starts, they rarely change the roll. Like, and if it does, it's just like a little bit, right?
Yes.
So Falcon 9 does a great job of like keeping always the same orientation relative to the airstream and to the into the barge. And so whenever it lands, it's always in the same orientation. Like, you can see that repeatedly on every single landing. It's always that same orientation. The barge is always to the left of the camera view, for example. It's always with with the legs in a certain position and everything. It's always like that. And I guess, that sort of speaks to the reliability of Falcon 9 and the control that they have and how they've been able to nail it down such that, after the lane burn starts, they don't need to roll it. It's nice to have that sort of, poof, we don't have to do that.
They also have the ability to use their cold gas thrusters if they really need to, but granted, being that low in the atmosphere and with the speed and momentum it has, can't really say that they would have much control authority that close to the drone ship, maybe. But although we have seen them try, there's one of the best videos that SpaceX has released with a failed Falcon 9 landing was when it almost came in at the right angle, but it had, I think, either one of the landing legs had failed or it had just come in sliding a bit too much with too much momentum, and one of the cold gas thrusters was firing as much as it possibly could to try and right the booster, but obviously it wasn't enough. So they do have the cold gas thrusters, but those are mostly useful in the upper atmosphere or just after stage separation to help orient Falcon 9 when there is no air for those grid fins to either to bite against and try and orient it. And obviously at that point, Falcon 9's Merlins are not firing either, so those cold gas thrusters remain the only source of orientation control, at least at that point in flight. Chris, do we have some replays ready? Oh, we do. Replays. This looks like it is from Fleet Cam. One of the great things about watching Falcon 9 fly, like many other rockets that are either powered with RP1 or solid rocket boosters like Atlas, is that the exhaust glows very, very bright because they are great carriers of black body or great emitters of black body radiation. That is why, ooh, we have audio. Don't want to talk over that. Always loving the crackle. It's so good. But the exhaust of Falcon 9, as I was saying before, the exhaust of Falcon 9 and other rockets powered by solids in RP1 is the exhaust glows so bright. Like in this one, it looks like an artificial sunrise. That's how bright the exhaust glows. So watching Falcon 9 or, again, any of these rockets fly at night is always such a treat. And you can see it from a very far distance away, too. Depending on where it's flying, you can see Falcon 9 from hundreds of miles away. People who are living on the west coast of Florida, like in Tampa or Clearwater. Ooh, more audio. I don't want to talk over it. I just want to listen to it. But yes, you can see Falcon 9 fly from very, very far away. That's how bright it glows. Obviously, weather pending good weather in your area. This exposure really shows how bright it can get. That is spectacular. Literally like watching the sunrise. Very, very bright indeed.
That's very similar to your view, right? With the trees hiding a little bit there.
Yes, actually, yeah, I am located just to the right of these cameras, so that is about the view I had, albeit not quite as bright as that, but Falcon 9 does glow very bright, and we can see it off the pad almost immediately. This looks like the replay from the stationary camera by D. Glorious.
You can see already on the right-hand side, the Stromberg has come back up.
Yes, it has. And as tends to happen, it's like 40 more often than not. It tends to be raised back up vertically to catch the, I guess, what is that structure called on the base of the transporter erector again, Alex? Remind me. Is that like the foot? What is that called?
The reaction fixture is
The
essentially
reaction fixture.
Yeah, it's sort of like the base of the transporter erector where you have all the hold downs, the quick disconnects for the booster and everything. Yeah. That's also where all of the connections for the ground systems go. It's very neat. Ooh, more audio.
This looks like more audio.
This auto track?
I think this is from Gauge. Or it might be auto track. It is okay, yes, this is auto track. Fantastic. Never gets old, man. I know, like it's one of the most cliche things we always say. That it never gets old, but like really, it doesn't. And that was an absolute treat. We haven't seen a launch here in good lord, like 6 days. That is such a long time for us. We're starving. We need something. But yeah, it is such a treat, and that is it. We are always happy to watch that. Hopefully, a lot of people were able to watch with us, or people who were out here in Florida were able to see that themselves as well. It's always a spectacular sight. Tracking it very far down range there, you can see the exhaust from all 9 Merlins beginning to expand as the atmospheric pressure around all 9 Merlins begins to drop, thus changing the shape of the exhaust plume and color. A little bit of support to go through here really quickly. Rick Cummins, thank you very much for becoming a Pad Rat member. You are the best, Rick. Thank you very much. We love to see you. All right. Oh, we still have more. Was that more? Or was or not? That went away quick.
I think that was the gauge track.
That may have been the gauge track from one of the Cape Cams. Chris, that was rude. How dare you?
Way back.
Bring it back. Play it back. Waiting.
We also have the slow-mo to play out in just a few
Yes.
minutes. So
That is, yep. Stay tuned. The return of D Slow-Mo.
that's true.
It's been a
Haven't seen that
while.
in a minute. It has been a while. D, how are you? How was the launch?
It was a really beautiful launch. I mean, I was able to have it all the way to the horizon, and then I saw the entry burn start up, so I moved over to track that. Then I went back to the second stage and had it until it crossed behind the trees here. So just a wonderfully clear night here.
A nice welcome back to Florida, perhaps.
Yes.
And that's also one of the great benefits of being able to watch from this perspective on a super clear night here is that if weather conditions permit, you can actually see the entirety of entry burn from hundreds of miles away. Mind you, Falcon 9 is almost into the Bahamas at that point, and we are still able to see it above the horizon.
Yeah, it's really cool to think about in comparison to the RTLS missions, like how in this case the entry burn happens just over the horizon, but you know from like seeing RTLS missions, if you're at the press site, you're basically looking up at it.
Yeah, like we are pretty much almost breaking our necks having it look like straight upward, trying to track this thing, assuming we have a visual. But it is literally straight over our heads. Especially, it's even more so if we are fortunate enough to be watching from anywhere Cape side for a Slick 40 mission, or even 39A, anywhere close to the LZs, where the first stage booster is literally over our heads. It can it can be a bit of a neck strainer, but that is what we have to do sometime. All right, folks, a little bit more support to go through here, and then I think we will begin to wrap up our coverage. Jan's coming in with a store message. My first NSF shop purchased, hoping Flight 9 has good vibes. Agree there. We all want Flight 9 to succeed, both from what?
The good vibes
What?
thing.
We want good vibes for Flight 9. We want a
Got it?
full successful flight. No. Oh wow. Oh no.
Because of the vibrations.
Oh.
Got it. Oh no.
that took a bit.
It did. Yeah.
Wow.
I'm slow tonight. Yeah, well, either we want good vibes or no vibes, right?
I guess in the case of Ship 34, you just had a bad attitude.
Jesus, Alex. Oh my gosh.
Hey, Sawyer's not here. I gotta make up for it, right?
I guess we have, an excess of pun tokens available. One more from Nibbles, gifting 1 Red Team membership. Nibbles, we love to see you around. Thank you very much for your support. All right, chaps. Well, I think we are at that point in the program, and we are going to begin wrapping coverage for tonight's Starlink mission. And I want to first thank Alex for coming on and providing us with a bunch of knowledge and his wisdom. Alex, thank you very much for coming on with us.
Yeah, and also a few puns here and there, of course. It's not always just, oh, here are the hard facts and here's what happened. You can also have a bit of fun as well, and coffee and Red Bull, right?
and a lot of coffee and
donuts.
a lot of and donuts. Donuts actually sound phenomenal right now, don't they? But also returning to the field after being away on assignment for a long time. Welcome back to Florida, D Wise, and thank you very much for all of your camera work tonight.
Of course, it is wonderful to be back and seeing some launches here.
Much more to come. Much more to come. And there's actually an Atlas 5 coming up next week, and of course we will be covering that as well. But we have D-Wise's slow-mo coming up, and we will play that out with y'all. My name is Max Evans. I have been your host for this evening. I am a spaceflight photographer here at NSF, and we greatly appreciate everyone coming on and hanging out with us tonight, and we will hopefully catch y'all next time.
And here we go.
We have liftoff.
Propulsion continues to be normal.
R68 chamber pressure looks good.
Doubling up. Roger, Atlantis.
Water towers, fly! Yes! Tango down to nominal.
Flight downside FD off. Say again, FD off. Off. It's orange!
Oh my god! Oh my god!
Decollage. What is it? Put that in the big bag, Eagle.
343 unfolds to go.
Indeed.
We rise together back to the moon and beyond.
This methane will be igniting in the flare, correct?